word about what took place yesterday. That kind of explosion begs a question. The question I would like to ask is, number one, why are all the cameras pointed at that direct location, no civilians killed, and supposedly a chemical plant was hit? It sounds like it's a preparation or a practice run to me. And they were getting it all.
Охренеть.
All on film to use for a later date for another purpose. But anyways, Russia would see U.S. moves to arm Ukraine as a declaration of war. That's huge news. That's huge. U.S. provision of military aid to Ukraine would be seen by Moscow as a declaration of war and spark a global escalation of Ukraine's separatist conflict, Russian defense analysts said. With Russia-backed rebels in eastern Ukraine seizing new territory from the Ukrainian army, or according to CNN, the pro-U.S. troops clearly were going to war. Clearly, they are escalating this crisis further. Voices in Washington are demanding that Kiev be given defensive weapons and hardware, including lethal equipment, to hold the line. But if such aid were sent, Russia would reasonably consider the U.S. to be a direct participant in the conflict. This is where it gets interesting. Said, I'm going to say this name wrong, I apologize, Evgeny Bushninsky. That's how you say it. A military expert at the Moscow-based PIR Center. Moving on from there, the world's best-known global shipping index has crashed to its lowest level ever. This was posted yesterday, 2/9/2015, having fallen for 47 of the last 51 days. The Baltic Dry Index. It's got to make people wonder, how much further can this economy and this world continue on this path without some form of destruction or a societal issue taking place? I'm not trying to push it right now or fearmonger or anything. All I'm doing is trying to bring up to the thought, this is one of the best indexes, or this is one of the best ways to tell of a coming crisis. We're already in a crisis, but a coming crash or a collapse, and it's the lowest record ever. Moscow just declared that if the U.S. does decide to arm Ukraine, it's a declaration of war. I don't know about you, but this sounds like World War III beginning right before our very eyes. I think this is the... Well, hang on here. Here's another big economic issue, and this is why I was saying the other day when the stocks rose on oil price surging. No, not at all. There was no goodness in that. I can't get the page to read. I don't know why it's going to a widescreen. It's on RT. Just give me a sec. Anyways, this article is about oil workers and their strike nationwide. U.S. BP oil workers join largest nationwide strike in 35 years. Oh, it's great. Workers at BP refineries in Indiana and Ohio have joined the largest nationwide strike since 1980. After workplace safety negotiations between the United States Steelworkers Union, USW, and fuel-making plants stalled, according to a USW press release. The USW said on Saturday that the U.S. refinery workers' strike is expanding to include 2 additional plants. Over 1,000 workers from BP PLC's Whiting, Indiana refinery and the company's plant in Toledo, Ohio, a joint venture with Husky Energy, are due to walk out shortly after midnight on Sunday. City. Oil could plunge to $20 and this might be the end of OPEC. The recent surge in oil prices is just a head fake, and oil is as cheap as $20 a barrel may soon be on the way, which there is economists that will tell you $30 a barrel, and we are at a global economic crisis, global economic recession. A barrel may soon be on the way, Citigroup said in a report on Monday as it lowered its forecast for crude. Yet, if the strikes continue, according to RT, not according to RT, but according to other economists, that if strikes continue, we are facing potentially $200 a barrel because of the strikes in America. A lot of our oil comes from refineries here in the U.S. It's not good. Despite global declines in spending that have driven up oil prices in recent weeks, oil production in the U.S. is still rising, wrote Edward Morse, Citigroup's global head of commodity research. Brazil and Russia are pumping oil at record levels, and Saudi Arabia, Iraq, and Iran have been fighting to maintain their market share by cutting oil prices to Asia. The market is oversupplied and storage tanks are topping out. A pullback in production isn't likely until the third quarter, Morse said. In the meantime, West Texas Intermediate crude, which currently trades at around $52 a barrel, could fall to the $20 range for a while, according to the report. The U.S. shale oil revolution has broken OPEC's ability to manipulate prices and maximize profits for oil-producing countries. It looks exceedingly unlikely for OPEC to return to its old way of doing business, Morse wrote. While many analysts have seen in past market crises, the end of OPEC this time around might as well be different, Morse said. Citi reduced its annual forecast for Brent crude for the second time in 2015. Prices in the $45 to $55 range are unsustainable and will trigger disinvestment from oil. At a fourth quarter rebound to $75 a barrel, according to the report, prices this year will likely average at $54 a barrel. Okay, so obviously we have Russia about to declare war if Ukraine is armed. And the potential outcome from that is pretty likely because Obama and Merkel hint at disagreements on Ukraine. I'm sorry, I was distracted by the stock drop for a second session as Greece trumps oil, which is another big crisis going on. President Barack Obama and German Chancellor Angela Merkel presented a united front against Russia in talks at the White House Monday, saying they would continue to mount diplomatic and economic pressure to get Russia to withdraw from Ukraine. There were hints of disagreements about what strategy might be if those efforts fail, but both leaders kept the nature of those disagreements behind closed doors. At a joint press conference following their morning meeting in the Oval Office, Obama said he was very encouraged about the extent to which we've been able to maintain U.S.-European unity on this issue, which there's been a little bit of information circling around that's showing that they're not as quite unified as Obama says they are. I mean, honestly, who knows? Who knows what the next step is? If they do arm Ukraine, we're looking at a really bad situation because Russia would see it as another a declaration of war, just like the sanction that would remove Russia's ability to use a SWIFT bank payment system. So here it is again. One more thing before I cut it off.
Let's bring in General Wesley Clark, former Supreme Allied Commander for NATO, also the author of a book, Don't Wait for the Next War. General Clark is live with us. Sir, nice to see you. Thank you.
Thank you, Shepard.
Does this feel like a trial balloon to you to test the political will out there? And secondly, what is your position on whether we should arm the Ukraine?
Well, I'm very glad to see the Atlantic Council report. I know the people on that who did that study. Many of them were my colleagues years ago in the Pentagon and in the State Department. And frankly, it's been a year of a courageous diplomatic effort by President Obama and Chancellor Merkel. The Atlantic Alliance is held together. They put sanctions in. Russia's economy is being hurt, but it's insufficient. And after a year, it's time to reassess that policy. You cannot get diplomacy unless you've got enough military strength to force Mr. Putin to want the diplomacy. Right now, what he wants is he wants to play a game and use the military, and that's what he's doing. And the casualty figures are no doubt understated. I've been 5 times to Ukraine. I would say there's between 8,000 and 9,000 Russian troops, plus another 30,000 Russian armed separatists. They've got the most modern Russian military equipment in there, some equipment for which the Ukrainians have no counter, some equipment for which even the United States may not have a counter. I'm talking about unmanned aerial vehicles, massive multiple rocket launcher systems, the linkage between the two, modern armed tanks that will defeat most anti-tank guided missiles. So it's a real fight. In one period in August, the Ukrainian military lost several thousand troops, captured, killed, or units decimated. So what you've got is intensive warfare. This is no future tense. This is not, will there be war in Europe? There is war in Europe. The question is the United States going to stop it, or is the United States going to allow it to expand and engulf other countries?
What is the argument,
This is the
General?
time.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was going to say, General, what is the argument for not sending these weapons to Ukraine? Our ally Ukraine, with whom we've been working for years, what is the reason for not sending them so far?
Well, Ukraine is not really an ally. They're a non-aligned state. They're not a member of NATO, but they are fighting for their right, which we've supported for 100 years, that nations can determine their own future, and Russia says they can't. The argument for not sending has been that you might provoke Russia, but we tried that argument for a year. It didn't work. I thought we learned in the Balkans in 1992, 93, 94 that you can't tell people they shouldn't defend themselves. And in the case of Ukraine, at first we told them, don't defend yourself, give up Crimea. Russia took it. Then we told them, and I'm not sure if we said it in quite those words, but we were worried about maybe we could get away with this if we didn't provoke Putin. But it has very little to do with provoking Putin. In this case, it's part of a Russian strategy. The Russian objectives have been announced by the Russian Foreign Ministry a year ago, and it's just a matter of watching it unfold. It's whether you believe it or not. It's not really akin to the Syrians. It's more akin to what happened in World War II, prior to World War II in Europe, and Hitler's plan unfolded. This is a plan that's unfolded. The time to stop it is early, and that time is now.
Gorbachev expressed a concern that this might spread. Your level of concern that if we do arm the Ukrainians, if it doesn't go as well as we had hoped, that our NATO allies in that region, and they're right there, get involved and then we're drawn in?
Well, I think that if you arm the Ukrainians now, you can stop this from spreading. I think it'll deal with setback. Mr. Putin is still playing a game with his own people at home. He's denying that Russian troops are even in there, and yet we have clear evidence of that. And they've died by the hundreds in fighting in Ukraine. He's covered up their funerals and so forth. And so this is still, for him, deniable. And if he's given a sharp rap on the nose by the Ukrainian military, I think he would seek a diplomatic way out of the conflict. But if we let it fester, if we let it succeed, if we let Ukraine crumble, then the problem is magnified and Russia grows stronger. So this is the time now for the administration to reassess its policy and provide significant, substantial military training and assistance to Ukraine.
And we're led to believe that debate is on now. General Wesley Clark, thank you.
Thank you.